Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. Today we'll be working on this print. This block is pine. It's just a piece of pine from a pine board that I had cut down long ago. This was commonly used, or not this particular block, but pine was commonly used by the Provincetown printers in the early 20th century to do these white line prints. This one I have engraved using a laser engraver. So this is original art that is line art that I have engraved using an xTool S1 laser engraver. And that saves my hands from the carving. Then I've got a Japanese postcard that I'm using. One of these Akashiya postcards using my Kuretake Gansai Tambai paints and what do I got here? It's a Yasutomo fusion brush and a little bit of painter's tape. I haven't yet found quite the right painter's tape for this. Got to experiment further, because sometimes when I take it off at the end, I do tear the surface. This paper these postcards are made of is a little bit fragile. So I don't think I haven't actually printed with this block yet, so I don't have a comp to show you, but it'll be similar to this when we're done. So that is kind of my reference. So when I'm doing these, since I'm doing a postcard, I like to start from left to right and kind of paint as I go, because the direction of the fold here, I don't want to smudge and cause a mess. All right, where to begin? Bottom left corner. The nice thing about painting on pine is that it's very absorbent, so it holds the paint nicely, and it's a super smooth surface to paint on, and obviously depending on how well planed or sanded the surface is, but in general it's much smoother than birch, I've found, or it's closer to basswood, which is commonly used in laser engraving. It's much easier to paint on than my 3D printed blocks. Those can be a bit of a challenge. You can see here that there are some little bits are connecting. So I'm going to wing it and just see if I can. No, I can't. I was going to try to use a not sharp pencil. Don't have any pointy things here, but let me grab something. This is just a random dental pick. So lesson learned, I should clean these up a little more. I didn't go terribly deep with this engrave, which is, so this isn't as deep as the engraves that I do on the 3D blocks. I'm just going to take a quick look. And you can see where there's striations in the wood, where the wood is, I think, slightly harder. It can be the light from the laser engraves, it doesn't go quite as deep. So I'm just going to do another pass over this since I could let it sit. So you can see right here, this little area, that's probably not going to print well. On my 3D printed blocks, since the lines are very deep, I can be kind of sloppy and just paint right over the engraves. And the paint also just kind of slides around all over the place on the plastic ones. Does not do that on these. Notice when I'm doing this, I try to do a nice even coat, not leave any puddling, because puddling just causes the paint to blur. All right, where did this go? So I'm flipping it, I press, and today I'm using a piece of Hosho paper from a roll, just so that I can protect the postcard. What I've found is that if I rub too much on this, the paper kind of falls apart. So you can see here, in terms of troubleshooting this, that there's a bit of a blob there because the paint was too thick. I'm just kind of looking to see if there's any noticeable artifacts from things not from the engraves not being deep enough. It's not terrible. And often the first pull off of one of these, you don't get great results. It's the nature of the wood absorbing the paint and going through all that. So next we're going to hit it with the green. This is a forest green, which is nice and foresty. You can see that it is puddling up. And with these darker colors, you can also see how the color runs into the grain of the wood over there on the left. Which is why good engraves are important. I don't typically leave open paths on like that. Is just kind of, there's no line. But for this one, I'm just doing a partial. Puddling, I'm going to pick that up. So I'm just wiping off the brush to pick up some of that excess paint. That does make a big old mess. See how this goes. So flip it over, press it. It's for good measure. And my traditional spoon. This is just a stainless spoon. So you can see here, because I applied the paint here first, it had been absorbed more by the block. But that's fine. This is, just a, I just realized I tend to forget these little bits between the buildings. Way too much paint. Some folks use more traditional, sorry, the word escapes me. I'm sure people will be yelling at me in the comments. The thing that is used, I don't find that's necessary. You can. It's just a personal thing. I enjoy the spoon. So wonderfully practical and pragmatic, very New Englandy. Make do with what you got. As the British would say, make do and mend. So here I'm just putting in some sky. This is the ultramarine blue. The nice thing about using wood blocks is that you can go, I can use this as many times as I want, really with any of this type of white line print. So I don't have to use like the entire block. I can just paint the bits that I want. I don't usually go quite this far around. So you can see too, the grain on this wood is horizontal here. That wasn't planned or anything. It's just kind of how it worked out. And since I'm doing this large area with a small brush, I will probably do this twice or come back and do it again later. I like the sky to be a little vague, a little more sky-like. I don't need completely. I got some in there. That's actually okay because it will get covered in the future. So I like the sky to be more sky-like than a solid block of color. You can see over here, it's started to be absorbed by the wood quite a bit. So this is where I can just kind of go in and add some more color. I'm just going to see how we're going to press this and just see what we get. Rattling somewhere. like that. And you can also see, so we're getting a combination of the grain of the paper and the grain of the wood. You notice I kind of totally missed the top. So add a little more paint. Do that again. The town hall, for some reason, I typically do it in green, or shades of green, because it is actually green, and not quite this color green. So I'm grabbing a little bit of sap green light, to kind of blend in there, just because. The really nice thing about these brushes is that that you can get a really, really good point on the tip. So it's great for following along lines. Because these are really meant to be used super vertically for Japanese painting style. You get a really nice tip. I'm just sitting here by the window listening to the birds and the unfortunate buzzing in the background of, assuming it's my lights. They're all LED lights these days. They shouldn't buzz. Growing up in schools and offices and stuff with fluorescent tube lights that buzzed and flickered, and those were horrible. We've come a long way. You may ask, why do I paint the windows the same color as the building? Well, just because that's what I feel like. This is not science. This is art. And sometimes I do the doors, like these doors, I'll do them, a different color if I feel like it. At the moment, I'm just trying to get a base layer of color on here, because I can always go back and add more. The nice thing about these paints is that they layer extremely well. So that is probably going to be a really faint print, because it took a while. Oh, not bad. So see, by mixing those two, the sap green and the sap green light, I get a little bit of a variegation there. I completely forgot the monument. I left the monument stranded there, sticking up into the sky all by itself. So today, which color should I use? Should I use indigo, gray blue, cerulean blue? I'm going to go for gray blue. Apparently it's going to be gray blue with a little bit of dirty green water mixed in. I've got too much paint on there. I enjoy the kind of quiet, meditative aspects of this kind of, like coloring book. And the great thing about white line prints is you can really use any art. If you had some clip art that you liked, or just a sketch. As long as it's a vector or any kind of line art, right? You can do it the traditional way and just carve it into the block and transfer the outline on with graphite or something like that, and then carve it. I do think the next time that I carve one of these, I will go deeper with the engrave, just because it's a little shallow. Should that be blue? We're going to leave that for now. I've tried doing this outdoors, and it's fun. It's nice sometimes to be outdoors doing this, but you inevitably end up with bugs and wind. We have a lot of wind here in town. So again, you can see there, you see a lot of the texture of the paper because of the because so much of the paint has come off in that first pull. Use clean water this time. Going back in for some forest green. Someone said to me, why don't you just take a picture of those and print them out on your printer? Like on a color laser printer or something. I said, well, that's not the point. The process is the point. Going through the process, then you get a different result each time. This is also extremely good practice for me with my fine motor skills, because I have my neurological issues sometimes are incredibly frustrating. So it's helpful to practice a little bit. I'm going to leave the sky for last. Now, this little building that we're going to do is the fire station number 3, which is white. But I don't really like doing white buildings in white, in white line print because, yeah, white on white, they just kind of disappear. Also, same with light yellow. So go more for the jewel tone. So I'm actually using, this color is called red. And this is one of those buildings that I would probably give a different color for the windows. Ta-da! That's cute. I'm going to do what I call the garage door, which is where the fire trucks used to come in and out. And I like to use rose madder deep for that because it's just a nice, it's just a nice color. We're still in red, but we get a little bit of a pop in a subtle way. I know if I have too much on this, pick up some of that. If I have too much, it just goes blah. And with a blob. Let's see if I removed enough for that. Squish. Squish. And now for the church. What color was I going to use this time? I had some idea. I have this yellow Oriolan because lemon yellow, which is my normal go-to yellow, is just too pale. So we're going to try this. I haven't used this at all yet, so it might be not a good idea. Now, as I'm starting to paint this, I'm noticing I put some little marks here, and those are the edge of the paper. So that's the edge of the postcard. So I really shouldn't be painting beyond there. If I do, I end up with a mess. Because I would paint on the edge of the postcard. These little tiny windows can be troublesome because I made them so little. Sometimes they come out great. Sometimes they're a disaster. They're just little blobs. Okay. That's all I'm going to do for that. Yeah, you can see I've overshot. Yeah. It's yellowish. It certainly goes to the edge. And then we're going to go back in and do some more sky. I've been experimenting with different colors for skies. Different colors for skies, leaving skies out completely. I tried the gem colors, the Kuretake gem colors, and I tried the granulating. They have those funky, there's like multiple pigments and it goes all haywire. Those you need a lot of water for to get those effects, and it doesn't really work with this technique. So I didn't get very far with that. And because I'm not applying the paint directly to the paper, you need a slightly different consistency. So you can't use many of the typical watercolor techniques. Now you'll see here when I do this, how it overlaps. How you start to get a layering effect. So you can see here where I have some layered brush strokes, which I don't love. It gives you an opportunity to do interesting things. I'm going to leave this open so that if I wanted to, I could write a message on there. I think I will go back in and fill that in blue. Wrong color. So I found that the gem colors kind of don't really do much when you use them in this way. And if you use too much water on this paper, on this these Japanese papers, just the paper just starts to, oops. The paper just you just rub it away. There we go. That ended up being a slight blend between some of this and some of this.